Hello everyone, welcome back to the 8th session on solid state. Last class I had explained to you all about the semiconductors and some of the defects in solids. Today we shall discuss about the magnetic property. Have you all wondered, some of the solid substances are attracted towards the magnet and some are not attracted towards the magnet. Some show magnetic property, some do not show magnetic property. What is the reason behind this magnetic property? It is the electrons. Every atom has electron and every electron behaves like a tiny magnet. The magnetic moment of the electron because of two types of motion which it has got. One is electron moves around the orbit, so it has got the orbital motion, and also it spins around its axis. Okay, you can observe that over here. See, you can see, if I consider this to be nucleus, okay, and the electron is moving around in its orbit, that is one type of motion, and the second type of motion, you can see these electrons is also spinning in its own axis. So because of these two types of motion, it gets magnetic moment. Okay, and here you can also see electrons are charged particles, and because of the motion of these charged particles, each electron has magnetic moment. That is, when charged particles are moving, okay, or it has got a certain type of motion, then they will get magnetic moment, or they will act like a small loop of current, due to which they will possess magnetic moment. Now, in solids, the magnetic substances are further classified into 5 categories, which are those we shall see. The magnetic substances: first one, paramagnetic substance; second, you have diamagnetic; third, ferromagnetic substance; fourth, ferrimagnetic substance; and the last one, antiferromagnetic substances. So we will see what are paramagnetic substance. Okay, so the first one, paramagnetism. The substance which show, or the phenomena of paramagnetic substance is called as paramagnetism. Okay, now what is paramagnetic substance? The substance that is weakly attracted by the magnetic field. If the substance is weakly attracted, it is attracted towards the magnetic field, then we call such substance as paramagnetic substance, and the phenomenon is known as paramagnetism. Okay, so examples you can give: oxygen Cu+2, Fe+3, or Cr+3. You can remember any two examples. Now, why does this substance show paramagnetism? It is basically because it has got unpaired electrons. It has got what? It has got one or more unpaired electrons. When there are unpaired electrons, then they are attracted by the magnetic field and it causes paramagnetism. Also, paramagnetic substances, when gets magnetized in the presence of magnetic field, but when the magnetic field is removed, they lose its magnetism. Okay, paramagnetic substances, when it is placed in the magnetic field, it will get the magnetism, or they will be attracted towards the magnetic field, but it will lose the magnetism when the magnetic field is removed. So if they ask you a 2-mark question, what are you supposed to write? You have to just write the substance that are attracted by the magnetic field are called paramagnetic substance. They have unpaired electrons, and one example you will have to write for a 2-mark question. So next we will see what is diamagnetic substance. Diamagnetic substance are those which are repelled by the magnetic field. What is it? Those are repelled by the magnetic field, and the phenomenon is known as diamagnetism. Example you can give: water, NaCl, benzene, etc. Now even these substances are magnetized when it is placed in the magnetic field, but they are magnetized in the opposite direction. That is why they are getting repelled. Okay. Now here all the electrons are paired. They do not contain unpaired electron, or you can also put it as all the electrons in diamagnetic substance are paired. They do not have a unpaired electron. Okay. The magnetic character of these substances are lost. Why is it lost? It is due to the cancellation of the movement by pairing of electrons. When they are paired, their magnetic moments, they get cancelled. That is why they do not have unpaired electrons, or the electrons are completely paired and they will get repelled by the magnetic field. Okay. So the next one we will see, that is ferromagnetism or ferromagnetic substance. Here these substances are strongly attracted towards the magnetic field. Okay, they are very strongly attracted towards the magnetic field, and these substances can be permanently magnetized. What is it? Ferromagnetic substances, they are strongly attracted by the magnetic field. Okay, and these substances can be permanently magnetized even in the absence of magnetic field. Such substances are called as ferromagnetic substances. Example we can give: iron, cobalt, nickel, etc. Okay. Now here, to understand ferromagnetic substance, we have to know what are domains. Okay. You can see here the metal ions, okay, are grouped together in a region called domains. Domains means in ferromagnetic substances, the metal ions, they are grouped together to form a domain. Okay, they call that group of metal ions, we call them as domain, and each domain acts like a magnet. Now in the absence of magnetic field, what happens is, for example, in the absence of the magnetic field, they are randomly oriented. These domains are randomly oriented such that their magnetic moments are cancelled. See, okay, randomly oriented, so the magnetic moments are cancelled when it is unmagnetized or in the absence of magnetic field. But when there is magnetic field is applied, all will get oriented in one direction. They will get oriented in one direction. Okay, they place in the domains get oriented in the direction of magnetic field, resulting in forming a very strong magnet. Even when the magnetic field is removed, this orientation is not lost. Such substances, we call them as ferromagnetic substances. You can see that's the reason I have shown here. See, the domains are all oriented in single direction. They are all in the direction of the applied magnetic field. Okay, that's why they act as a very strong magnet. Okay, next one is antiferromagnetism or antiferromagnetic substance. See, if the magnetic moment of the domains, here also we are talking in terms of domains, okay, if the magnetic moment of the domains are aligned in such a way that they get cancelled with one another, Okay, you can see one is parallel, which is upwards, we are calling them as parallel, this way we are calling as anti-parallel. So here what happens is they are aligned in such a way that the magnetic moment are cancelled, and you will get the magnetic moment, you are going to get it as 0, you are going to get it as 0. Such substance we call it as antiferromagnetic substances. Example you can give MnO. You can see one is parallel, anti-parallel, parallel, anti-parallel, parallel, anti-parallel. So they will get cancelled. Magnetic moments are completely getting cancelled with one another. Okay, such substances are antiferromagnetic substance. So the next one, the last one is ferrimagnetic substance or ferrimagnetism. Here also the magnetic moments are aligned parallel and anti-parallel, but they do not cancel completely. You can see here 2 are parallel, then you have one anti-parallel, 2 parallel, one anti-parallel. Even if it cancels, you can see they will cancel out like this, but still there is something which is aligned. You can see, towards the magnetic field. So they are not completely getting cancelled. Okay. So here you can see the definition: when magnetic moments are aligned in parallel and anti-parallel but in unequal numbers. What happens? Parallel and anti-parallel are in unequal numbers, resulting in net moment. Then the magnetism is called ferrimagnetism, and such substances are called as ferrimagnetic substances. Example you can give magnetite, Fe3O4. Okay, so these are the 5 different types of magnetic substance. Which are those? Paramagnetic substance, diamagnetic substance, ferrimagnetic substance, ferromagnetic substance, antiferromagnetic substances. You have to know the definition and an example for your 2-mark questions. Okay, next we learn about the relationship between the number of particles and voids. If I know the number of particles which is present in the unit cell or in a type of closed packed structure, okay, then I can tell how many types or how many voids are formed. Okay, for example, let the number of closed packed spheres, that is means number of atoms or number of particles, if I am considering it to be n. Okay, then the number of octahedral voids will be equal to the number of particles. See, that is also n. The number of octahedral voids generated also will be equal to the number of particles which is present. But the number of tetrahedral voids will be double the number of particles which is present. So if there is 1 particle, then number of octahedral voids will be 1. But the number of tetrahedral voids will be 2 into 1, that is 2. I hope you have understood. Now, based on this, we'll have to learn some of the problems. Which are those? I'll give you an example of 2 problems, how to solve. Okay. So, the first problem, okay, here the compound is formed by 2 elements X and Y. Okay, it is formed by 2 elements X and Y. Atom of the element Y. Y is what? Anions. Okay. Y is anions. Makes CCP. That means the particle Y is occupying the lattice sites of CCP. Okay, and those of the element X which acts as cation, this is acting as cation, occupies all octahedral voids. So X is occupying the octahedral voids. Okay, what is the formula of the compound? So in my question, what is that I have got? X and Y are the 2 elements which is forming the solid. X is the cation, Y is the anion. The anions occupies the lattice sites of CCP. Okay, and X occupies, is the cation which occupies the octahedral voids. Now let me assume the number of particles in CCP is 1. Okay, that means why there is only one particle. Now when the number of particles is 1, how many octahedral voids you will get? That also will be 1. It is equal to the number of particles. So octahedral voids you will get 1, but all the octahedral voids is occupied by what? X. So number of X particles also will be 1. So if the ratio of X and Y is 1:1, then the formula will be XY. I hope you have understood. I shall repeat it. In my question, they have given X and Y makes a molecule, okay, or a solid. In that, X is the cation which is occupying the octahedral voids. Y is the anion which is occupying the lattice sites of CCP. Now let me assume in CCP there is one atom. So that one atom is Y. So that is 1. Okay. And if the number of particles or number of atoms or number of ions is 1, then equal number of octahedral voids also are created. So that is occupied by what? X. So X also will be equal to 1. So if the ratio of X and Y is 1:1, then the formula will be XY for the compound. Okay. So this is one type of problem. So the next type of problem is, okay, the question reads like this: atom of element B forms HCP lattice. So B forms HCP lattice, and those of the element A occupies 2/3 of the tetrahedral voids. So we have two elements of the compound, one is A, one is B. Okay. Then what is the formula of the compound formed by the element A and B? You have to tell the formula of the compound. What is it they have given? They told B occupies the HCP lattice, A occupies 2/3 of tetrahedral voids, and this is occupying the of HCP. Okay. Now again, if I tell the number of particles okay, in HCP, if I consider it to be 1 occupied by particle B, then number of tetrahedral voids is equal to 2. Why? Number of particles is 1, n, then the number of tetrahedral voids is 2n. So number of particle is 1, tetrahedral void will be double, so it is 2. This is occupied, 2/3 of this is occupied by A. So it will be A is to B. If I take A, 2/3 of the tetrahedral voids 2, and this is 1. So this I will get it as 4/3:1. Now if I multiply both into 3, I will get 4:3. So the formula will be A4 B3. I hope you have understood. So once again, B occupies the lattices of HCP and A occupies 2/3 of the tetrahedral voids. So let me contain number of particles in HCP is 1. So B is 1. Okay. Number of tetrahedral voids is 2. Why? Because if this is n, tetrahedral voids will be 2n. So this is 1, double of that is 2. Now, but A is not occupying all the tetrahedral voids, it's occupying only 2/3 of the tetrahedral voids. So we'll take the ratio A is to B, A is 2/3 of the number of tetrahedral voids, and B is 1 if I have assumed. Okay. Now here multiply both the sides into 3. 3 and 3 gets cancelled, you will get 3, so you will get it as 4:3. So that formula will become A4, A is 4 particles, B is 3. So the formula of the compound is A4B3. So these are the two types of problems which can be asked for 2 marks for your exam. Okay. So that's it. We have in the second PUC syllabus of the chapter solid state. So what are the concepts which we have studied? Okay, solid state. First we learned there are two types, amorphous and crystalline solids. We do not have anything detailed on amorphous solids, but we have detail about crystalline solids. In crystalline solids, you learnt about the different types, that is ionic, covalent, metallic and molecular solids. Also you learnt about the 7 crystal system and the 14 Bravais lattices. Then you also learnt about the close packing, okay, and that is hexagonal close packing and cubic close packing. You have learnt close packing in 1 dimension, 2 dimension and then in 3 dimension. Then we learnt about the packing efficiency of simple cube, body centered cubic unit cell and face centered cubic unit cell. These are the 3 most important derivations for your exam. Then we also learnt about 2 different types of voids, that is tetrahedral void and octahedral voids. Then we have learnt about the imperfections in solids, that is in imperfections you have learnt in detail only about the point defects and not about the line defects. In point defects we learnt impurity defect, stoichiometric defect, non-stoichiometric defect. In stoichiometry we have Schottky and Frenkel and also valency and interstitial. These both are the most important ones, that is Schottky and Frenkel defect. Then we have a non-stoichiometric defect because of metal excess defect and metal deficiency defect. Also we learnt about the impurity defects. Also, other than this, we have learnt about the 2 properties of solids, that is electrical property and magnetic property. Okay, so in electrical property we learnt about semiconductors, 2 types of extrinsic semiconductor, that is N type and P type. Now if you ask me what is the most important question for this, that I would tell you have to learn the 3 derivations which is there for packing efficiency. You need to learn to solve the problems on density. You have to know the difference between Schottky defect and Frenkel defect, and also you have to know the differences between N type and P type semiconductors and 5 magnetic substances. This is the most important questions in solid state for your second PUC exam. Okay, I hope you have understood and followed the entire chapter. Next class I will be starting with surface chemistry chapter. It has got 5 to 6 marks of weightage. So thank you, stay tuned, stay focused.